I came from, technically I came from Georgia, lived a lot of different places, but I was living in Columbus, Georgia, just before this. I was raised in a Christian household. My dad had been a Christian for a long time. My mom was a little bit newer of a Christian, but they were both Christian, which I feel really blessed to have that. Like, they always were pouring into me, and really just like helping me to grow in my own walk and kind of take it as like my own identity. Like, this is my relationship with God. They really encouraged that. So there's like different points where I maybe wasn't as close with God, but like one of the cool things is it's a relationship. And so you kind of go through moments where you're not really as close. He's just always been a part of my life. And just as I've continued to like step out and do different things, like going to college or whatever, like realizing like the ownership that I have of it, I guess, like taking ownership, like this is God, like he's my God, you know? Yeah, I was kind of in a transitional period, I guess. Like I was going to college and I thought that's what God wanted me to do. And then doors started to close on that. And I felt like very strongly that I needed to come home, and I didn't really know why. And so like I came back home and I immediately like got right into everything, like volunteering, working, applying for new colleges that are at home. Like I was like in a place of seeking and trying to figure out what was supposed to be next. I didn't really have a lot of peace, I guess, like, you know, that unsettled state where you're transitioning and you don't know. And so I just didn't have any peace with anything. I was like just existing, just like doing stuff. Bill James came to Calvary Chapel in Columbus. I wasn't there, actually. My parents were there. I was at a different church. And they called me up and they were like, oh my gosh, Erica, like you have to meet this guy. You have to hear his story. And, you know, like you should have been there this morning. And we have something that we want to tell you. And I was like, y'all being weird, but okay. And so they're just like, you know, we know that you've always had a heart for missions and ministry. And, you know, we've always told all of our kids that you have to go to college to be successful. Like that's what you do in life. That's how you contribute to society and become an adult. And they were like, you know, you have like 1 year left. You're kind of in a weird spot. We don't know where you're at, where your heart's at. But if you feel like God's calling you to do that, then we want to support you. We want to release you from any of our expectations because those don't matter. So when they said those words, like we release you from that, it was like, oh my gosh, like God's been calling me to this the whole time, and now I'm kind of like, I'm here. I have a decision that I have to make. Am I going to follow that, or am I going to continue to like push it to the side? Yeah, that's what led me here. Like it was kind of, I think that moment was more than anything, but kind of a series of events. My biggest fear before coming here, or about coming here, was sort of like, is it right? I kind of have trouble sometimes like trusting my own discernment about what God's telling me. I was like sitting down thinking of all the reasons like why this is a scary thing to do, like all the things that could go wrong, just like how life could unfold if this and this happened, kind of the what ifs. And I don't know, it was just like every single one I was just like, yeah, but God, like he's got it, you know, it's fine. And like none of them fazed me, and I was kind of surprised by that because normally I can be a person that like worries really easily. My favorite Bible verse is 1 Timothy 4:12. Let no one look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe. The reason like this one's kind of like stuck out more than a lot of other verses is just, it's just kind of been like in my life for a really long time. When I was younger, I always felt like people were constantly looking down on me, like, no, you can't come sit in on our Bible study, like it's for the adults, or like you can't take part in this program or whatever because you're too young. And that always just was like difficult. I'd be like, come on now, like I can do this, and people would always just be like, no, you can't. And so I liked that I could go to my Bible and like hear what God said, and he would say like, yes, you can. You know, you're the one that can be an example to people. And it was just like very empowering as a young person. And I feel like even now with 10th Hour Project, like we'll be going to different churches and stuff, and I know like that opportunity will present itself again, like to some young person somewhere or somebody my age, because I'm still pretty young, to be like, hey, you know, you can still be an example to believers. You can have boldness and courage and all of that. So it's a new program, and like even if it had been around forever, like we're all new to it. And so we kind of don't know what God's gonna do. And maybe that's like the part that I would look forward to is like, we just have no idea, but we have to know like it's gonna be really, really awesome because it's God and he's gonna work everything out to be like the most amazing, like bring the most glory to him and like all of it. So I think I don't necessarily have any like set expectations other than, well, I know I could expect for it to be like really amazing, but I don't know what it'll look like, and that's like kind of an exciting part of it, I guess. In fact, one of the things that was really cool when I was like about to come to this program, I talked to Dave and Deanna a lot on the phone and texting and stuff, and one of the things that they said always stuck with me. They were talking about how they're starting this ministry and they'd really like for it to be this way or that way, and then they'd always say like, but we have open hands about it. And I just loved that because it was like, I could maybe sit here and be like, man, I really hope to grow from this experience, or I really, hope that I get to, take part in the saving of all these souls. But I think like kind of stealing their words, I guess, is like, I kind of have open hands about it. Like whatever God wants me to gain from it, then I'm excited to gain that, if that makes sense.
I would say that just changes that I've seen in my own heart. I know there's been like little things that I've noticed along the way. But really, even in the last month, I think God just really gave me a vision for what those changes mean all coming together. And it was really that before I wasn't living. I thought that I was. I definitely thought that. If you had asked me about, my spiritual walk and like my spiritual liveliness, I would have thought like, oh yeah, I love the Lord. He's this big part of my life for sure. Like he's great. Now that I've walked through what I've walked through, it's like I understand what life is. Like life on mission, like I understand it now, and it's not just Jesus is this big part of my life. He is my life. I came to that realization in Uganda. I was like, that's what he's shown me here, is he's life. Period. End of story. Like that's it. And that was really the moment that it all sort of came together in my mind of like just how truly amazing the previous like 5.5-ish months had been and all that God had done. And that was that point of recognizing like what God had done in me. Like we asked, talked about like what God's done in my heart. And that was like that moment of recognizing that he's given me life that I didn't have before, and recognizing that I had been radically changed by God, and that I hadn't even realized like that. Up to that point, I didn't really see the growth that was happening in my life. I saw the growth in so many other people around me, which was a blessing. I didn't see any growth in myself, really. And so that moment of like, oh my gosh, like I have a heartbeat, like essentially like, oh wow. Even moving forward, like I know that he'll continue to reveal himself and continue to show me more even after this program, and maybe a year now, 5 years from now, I'll be saying probably the same thing. Wow, now I really know what living is, He continues to grow us, and I look forward to more moments like that as he grows me. But the unity of this group has been a beautiful thing that has blessed me beyond measure. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and having this kind of fellowship that is so like drenched in the spirit and in love, and seeing how that affects others has been like a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. I think that the divine appointments, as they've been orchestrated, just going along the way, having these amazing, radical God things happen all around us, has been crazy. Like those are stories I'm going to tell my kids. And I would say also just seeing God continually reveal himself. Maybe that's even more than the other two, just God like becoming so much more apparent to me, his character, his attributes, the way that he works in my life, his love for me, his pursuit of me, through his word, through prayer, through different things where I didn't really have as great of an understanding of those things before. And so just seeing those things unfold has been really awesome. There's a million different programs in the world that you could do, and maybe God's calling you to do a different one, and then you need to do that. But I definitely see God moving here. I see him working here, and there are things about this ministry that I would say are definitely not like any other ministry. you will not be able to leave this place without being radically changed. You're not going to leave this place without knowing who God is, without knowing how He is your life, not even fits into your life, but He is your life. And yeah, it's an amazing thing. I think just to future 10th hour students, just to say, really cherish every moment. God is about to do something crazy amazing in you, and be ready for that. It's going to be awesome.